conversation. Cool, it's recording. We're good. Hello, friends. Thanks for tuning in today. I have a guest with me today who's returning. This is our second time talking together. And I met him, let's see, September 2018. There was a Barefoot Summit led by Dr. Emily Splickle. My guest was one of the speakers there. And this is where I got to spend time and get to know him and learn some things from him. And of course, I am speaking about James Earls, who is the author of what I consider a masterpiece, Born to Walk. I really, really love this book. And as I said off camera, in the book that I'm writing, you are cited in my book. So, welcome, James, man. Thank you for joining me. Thank you.
Hi, Carl. It's lovely to be back. Thank you for the invitation. It's always scary to think of a citation. It's like, oh my God, I hope I got it right.
Oh, I'm sure you did. Yeah, no, it's great, man. It's so I know that you have a new edition of this book coming out really soon, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it should be with me. I should be receiving the copies this week.
Awesome.
But that's kind of the good news is I'll be getting them, but I'm in the UK, so if many of your listeners are in the US, it might be another few weeks.
That's okay. It's going to get here. We'll get it here. So we talked last time. We talked about Born to Walk. So for anyone watching or listening, I'll refer you to go back to that if you want to learn some things from that interview. And I can also put a link up to get you there in the post. But tell me, how do you mind sharing real briefly, like how this book came to be? Like, what's the concept behind it? And then what are some differences between the new edition and the one that I have?
Sure. Okay. The initial inspiration was through my work with anatomy twins. So I used to teach anatomy twins with Tom. We co-wrote a book, Fascial Release, Structural Balance. And it was when I was teaching those workshops that I came across the work of Gary Gray.
Oh, yes.
And then I did the gift, what they call the gift training, the Gray Institute Functional Training, kind of mentorship, fellowship program. And it was in the introductory workshops that I did with them that I started seeing that actually the story that they were telling from a skeletal or skeleton point of view with bones and joints really fitted into the anatomy twins model. And then it was really that was 2012. And in between 2012 and the book, the first edition came out in 2014, 15, and just playing around with those ideas and starting to see the myofascial continuities in movement. And the first edition was just my kind of trying to make sense of all of the how does anatomy work in terms of movement, and trying to kind of, to some extent, kind of do the reverse that most of our textbooks do. Is we try and explain a movement. We try and explain movement from anatomy rather than trying to explain anatomy from movement. And so, I was just kind of riffing on that, and then as soon as I don't know about you, anytime you write an exam paper or you've got an essay to write or a dissertation, it's like as soon as you finish it, you hand it in. It's like the next day, a week later, a month later, you go, "Oh my God, what have I done?" And so for the next 4 or 5 years, I had many of those moments of thinking, I could have done that better, or maybe I should have used a different word, or the science has changed a little bit, or why did I? So I realized there were a lot of things I didn't cover in the first edition. So that's the reason for kind of updating and expanding a little bit. And so the general core of the book remains the same, but I'm explaining it in a slightly different way.
Okay. Well, first, I just have to say I can relate to this thinking you can do something better. Now, I haven't released my book yet. And part of the reason it's taken this long is because I keep thinking of things to add. I'll have a conversation with you. I have a conversation with Tom Myers. Or, just read stuff, read a new study. Say, I got to put something in there in citation. But I've had to finally give it up, and I started giving up recently, giving out, I mean, to the guy who's recording the audio version for me, because it's like, now it's final. Those the first 80% of the book, it's final. It's laid down. The tracks are done. The audio is done, and there's no change in it now, or it would cost a fortune. So maybe in a few years I'll do another edition. But did you find it all a struggle to finally hand the book in, or the manuscript, to the publisher?
I don't know what your experience. There were two things. One is
and I'm sorry, I'm interrupting just more so from the standpoint of, I hope I got it right. You know what I mean? I hope it's complete enough and comprehensive. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. For me, I have to stop myself collecting the information. So it's just, there were more research papers, more books, and it's like, and at what point do I actually start the writing process?
Yeah.
And then generally, once I start the writing process, then my next thought is, oh my God, when can I stop this? Because after that, the collecting of the information and getting the story, for me, is the fun bit.
Yeah.
The writing it down and trying to kind of squeeze it into the right order, that I find that torturous.
Oh, it's brutal. I'm thinking all these different ways I could have organized it, and you know what? It's too late now. Thankfully, though, otherwise I'd never put it out.
Yep. I find that, so trying to describe movement with multi-dimensional activity in a very linear script, is like, well, what do you say first? What's most important? What bits do I need in place? I find it a real pressure inside my head.
Yeah.
Like, my God, where do I start? How do I tell the story?
The way that the edition that I have, that's the first edition, right? Came out.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I love how it's put together. I would never thought of, I've never looked at it and said, he should have put this there and that there, because it just, for me, it flows well and it makes sense. So you did a good job, in my opinion.
Well, now I've gone and changed all that for the second edition.
So, would you mind sharing maybe, are there any things about the second edition that aren't in the first edition that or maybe they're enhanced or modified, or anything in particular you want to share about that?
And probably two main things. So one thing that I put in the introduction was the story about the first review that I got. I don't know, you'll enjoy the experience whenever the book
hasn't happened yet. I'm a little fearful, but
to me there are two really exciting moments. One is when you first get the box of the first books that kind of open them up, and then there's the next kind of nervous moment of reading the first review, and and my publisher decided to send the book to a publication that had reviewed Tom's Anatomy Twins, 12 years beforehand. And this guy, he practices a particular kind of style of physiotherapy, European style. And essentially he dished the book, he just did not like it. It's like, we do not need Anatomy Twins because we have Messiers, and Messiers is God's gift to physiotherapy and manual therapy. And so why should anyone bother with these Anatomy Twin things? And so my publisher thought, we'll send the book to the same magazine. And the magazine went, well, it's a good idea. Why don't we send it to the same guy who reviewed Anatomy Twin?
Wow.
So of course, he came back with essentially, there are some nice ideas in the book, but more or less, we do not need these Anatomy Twins things. And we don't need this fascial elasticity because we walk like a pendulum.
Okay.
The whole book is just based on kind of not walking like a pendulum and using the elastics and the springs. So we kind of completely undermined the whole essence of the book. But based on based on thinking and models and research that is hugely outdated. So I thought, obviously, I didn't put enough of the what I consider just the background science into it. And I, once upon a time we had the inverted pendulum model,
Right.
and now we have the spring mass model. I was like, and so it's, one of the first illustrations is just compare and contrast the two models.
Right.
One works, and the other's a load of crap. So
Yeah.
podcasting.
Oh, it's fine. Just say anything you want.
Thanks.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, that's really interesting. Well, once mine gets out, whatever. It's not about me. It's about you. But I just, whatever. I figure if I have any bad reviews, I'll just learn from them. Hopefully.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
3-4 years down the road, maybe do another one. We'll see. But I haven't even gotten there yet. So.
Well, I'm sure they can be hard to take, but there's always something to learn. And of course, it's on Amazon. The reviews is like everyone's a bloody expert, but actually you have to realize that a lot of the negative reviews are not actually reviews of the book. It's actually reviews of the ego of the person writing the review. You just want to play some kind of a power game.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
It can be difficult to separate one's emotion from the rationale behind that.
Yes. Yeah, I guess to be able to do that is the important thing, so you don't give up and never do anything like that again, because it's funny, I'm getting off topic slightly, but there's some of my favorite movies I think are the most interesting and intriguing and well done in every respect movies that were dissed by the critics, and then some of them end up being a huge commercial success too, and I don't know what these critics were thinking. I have no idea. Are they from a different planet? I don't know. But so as far as the differences in this new edition, is there can you give us an example of maybe something?
Okay.
Maybe anything you've changed from the original? Anything additional or any changes to anything?
So there's a lot more research in and around the use of elasticity and the stiffness in the system.
Okay.
But the biggest change, because walking hasn't changed.
Right.
We're not walking backwards or doing strange things.
Yeah.
No, another 6 months of this isolation, and perhaps something might happen, but hopefully not. So the biggest change has been in the organization of the book. So where the first edition went through many of the anatomy twins lines, and I've rearranged it to talk about sagittal, frontal, and transverse planes of motion, because it was just easier to tell the story that way. And the first edition felt like, whenever going back to read it, it was trying to squeeze walking into the model of anatomy trains, which is kind of what I was trying to avoid. I mentioned it in the introduction. It's like we're trying to explain movement through anatomy rather than explaining anatomy through movement. And sometimes, sometimes the anatomy trains kind of they coincide, and you can use them quite nicely for certain positions. Sometimes you just can't. Right. So to me, this is a more honest book in that sense. I'm not trying to squeeze things into the model. So there's a lot more kind of detail, perhaps. Some of the research just looking at the uses and challenges to the ideas around myofascial continuity as well, and force transfer. So I think it's a more honest book.
Well, it sounds really good, because I just think when you first mentioned it, when we started in the beginning here, you're born with anatomy first. You don't walk right away. So, right, describing the movement from the anatomy, that makes a lot of sense. So right now you're in England. It's gonna come out and be available in England soon, in a few days or next week, maybe.
Yep, it should be. According to my publisher, it should be with Amazon tomorrow.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Will that be?
So this is the new world we live in. It goes to Amazon before it comes to the writer.
Really? Okay. Yeah, interesting. And will that be? It'll be here eventually, right? In the States.
Hmm. Yeah, there's just another big bit of water that has to get across.
Right. Right.
So
Okay. And that. Okay. What's your time frame? What do you expect for that? Right now, we're at April 13th, 2020. Uh,
I'm
not, not,
hoping.
not, not to pressure you at all. I'm just curious more than anything because I know there are a lot of people here who are going to want it too.
Yeah, I'm hoping it should be end of May, beginning of June.
Oh, great. That's not too long. That's
Yeah,
good.
and part of me, this is my revenge for my childhood. So as a kid, I grew up in Belfast, and Star Wars. I'm showing my age, but Star Wars, The Life of Brian, all these classic movies.
Yeah.
But it would be released, and then 6 months later they would come to London, and then 6 months after that they would come to Belfast.
Oh,
So
okay.
I grew up having to wait for things to come from the US. So this is part revenge from my childhood.
Okay, I get it. I get it. That's interesting. Yeah, well, my age too. I remember Star Wars. That was big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, we had it before you did. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I think officially it was 1977, but it was probably 79 by the time I saw it.
Hmm. Well, that's really good. So it's the same title,
Yep.
Born to Walk. Is there an
Yep.
edition number after it? Like,
Oh, just second edition.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Where's the best place for people to go to learn about it? Your website?
Website which is now changed. So I've rebranded to Born to Move.
Oh, beautiful! I love that.
Yeah, because it was a little more all obviously more encompassing, and to kind of bring in some of the other bodywork styles that I'm working with, kind of using functional movement and bodywork combined. So few different titles with that. So borntomove.com. But if they, even the old website borntowalk.com will kind of redirect to that.
Good. Good. Yeah, I'll put a link to that on the screen too. And then all this goes, the audio gets extracted. I throw it on SoundCloud. Then SoundCloud syncs with iTunes, so it goes on the iTunes. So for people listening who can't look at the link, it's borntomove.com. Good, good. So have you noticed any, we'll mention that too before we get done. What are you noticing? What's it like for you over there now with this COVID-19 situation? Like, for example, here, stores are open, not all of them, just certain ones, like essentials, pharmacy, groceries. We can go in. We're not required to wear a mask, although I do. And a lot of people are wearing masks, especially the past week or two. All restaurants are closed. Except for takeout. You can order takeout and give curbside delivery when you show up. We're able to get together and I'm able to go out and ride my bicycle in a half an hour, and I'll go out and ride because that's my favorite thing to do right now. What's it like for you there? Can you go outside? Can you do things?
Yes, it's like a very similar situation that we're in. So I'm in London. Thankfully, I live quite close to a place called Primrose Hill and Regent's Park, close to London Zoo. So there's lots of green space to explore around. We're allowed out once a day for up to an hour for exercise. Similar kind of guidelines. I don't know if you're getting that over the speaker, but that's my motorcycling neighbour.
Okay, yeah, I heard something.
He has an old Indian. If you're into bikes,
I am. I like them. Yeah, Indian. That goes back a ways. Yeah.
I like him until he starts. Then eventually he does disappear.
Yeah. So you're able to go out. You're able to move around. That's good. So one of the things that I've noticed here, I'm just curious if you've noticed anything like this or not. I would say, especially in the last 2 weeks, so since about April 1st or so, and past 3 weeks as well. But let's see, what's the 13th? It was a month ago. today was my last day at work at the university because they shut it down. Classes are done, gym is closed, so I'm not working there now. I mean, technically I'm an employee, not getting paid, but whatever. When they reopen, I look forward to going back because I love my job there. I love it. But everybody's home. Classes are online. But I go out and I ride my bike on the trails and in the woods and on the streets and these pathways. And I've noticed in the past 2 weeks, especially, more people out and moving than I have ever seen. And I've been here 27 years at this house. And I can't believe it. And so I kind of like it because I see people, they're getting out. More people are getting out. Maybe they got out before, but they did it at a different time when I wouldn't go. I don't know. But I don't think it's quite like that. I think people are actually out and moving. Are you noticing anything like that on your end?
Absolutely, because I would every day I go for a walk or a run, and maybe even just go and have a coffee in the park, and so I see the people both in numbers and also start to recognize faces over the years, and it is quite a different population that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And also, I was having a chat with, I have a bunch of personal trainer friends, kind of doing a group Skype, a little bit like this, but 16 of us. And they're like in bodyworkers, we've had our business kind of wiped out over the last 4 or 5 weeks. And personal trainers did the same. And one of their professional associations came out with a very negative press release, just saying how bemoaning the fact that their whole industry is collapsed and in need of government support. And whilst in the short term that's true, I think in the long term, there's a new population that are kind of going out outside, valuing outside time, and kind of hopefully noticing the need for it. Hopefully they're going to notice the benefit of it. And it's kind of that, it's that if you want somebody to do something, tell them not to do it. It's like you're not allowed to go outside except for this once per day. You kind of get some exercise, but make sure that it's. And you put in all of these guidelines, and suddenly everyone's supposed to break the guidelines.
Right.
So whatever the kind of the incentive, whether it's carrot or stick, there's potential for this to be a health-wise a positive thing. In terms of getting people to experience movement, walking, running, exercise, fresh air, and the air in London, it's a lot fresher.
Isn't that amazing? I think 3 weeks ago I posted something. It was just an observation. I actually was trying to reach a few people who I know are really down, just with a generic. While COVID-19 is not a nice thing, it's not good. The virus itself, there are a few upshots to this. One of them is air pollution is down, and especially around the bigger cities, right? People in I forget what city I heard about recently are seeing the sunshine, but not through smog anymore lately, right? So with all that, smog, the exhaust fumes, and everything else that hangs up there. But it's interesting to talk with people about their view on this. Economically, it's been very difficult for so many people. It's been hit so hard, so many businesses too, and I'm sure there as well. COVID-19 is not a good thing itself, but I look at it as a time for becoming more in touch with myself, although I was pretty much there since the Singapore incident last year with the blood clots. But I kind of reevaluated my life and what's important. But this is helping to streamline that even further and then slow down.
Yeah,
I'm not going like every minute lately. I mean, I love it. I love it. I don't love that people are hurting so badly and that so many people have passed away or they've been sick or economic hardship. But geez, man, I see opportunity here. As a society, not as a person. I mean, there could be, right? But as a society, I hope we learn from it.
I hope so.
I mean, people like you and me, we know we already have been learning, and we will hope society learns too, as a whole.
Yeah, and I mean, we hope so. And there's also, we get it, especially from the American media. There's also a big drive to get back to business as usual as quick as possible, and there's a conflict there of, well, can we afford to go back to, well, what do we mean by afford? But can we afford long term to go back to normal, and can we afford not to, financially, not to go back to normal? And so there's going to be lots of uncomfortable choices that are coming up.
Yeah,
I know for me, I am guiltily enjoying this quiet time for myself, and also, is that time of reflection and thinking, I think I'm almost done with jumping on the train to get to the airport to fly to some random city to hole up in a hotel for 3 or 4 nights and deliver a workshop and fly home, and all of the costs, climate wise, financial, personal. So I'm reconsidering my business model. For me, but also for the good of the rest of the planet, in the little pinprick and drop in the ocean that I am.
Yeah, but you get enough of those drops, then big differences can start to change. Things can start to change in a larger way. And I was traveling a lot, but you shared with me your schedule last time we talked. I'm like, holy cow, man, how do you do this? You were really, I mean, I went to many countries and a few continents, but holy cow, man. I don't know how you did it, but I'm glad you're okay. And I'm glad you did it because you helped a lot of people. You taught a lot of people. But
and pardon me, I was a conscientious objector to online education. I predominantly deliver bodywork education. It's like, well, I didn't think that should be delivered online. And now I'm thinking, well, actually, what right do I have to take advantage of the climates, of the secondary costs to my health, so for the cost to my wife, and all of the other kind of harms that lifestyle was having. So I'm seriously looking and investigating online deliveries, but still with some live workshops, but definitely trying to cut them down.
Yeah. I think I started doing that just before Singapore last year, because I actually knew that I was going to stop traveling anyways. It was already planned. It just so happened that the last trip was the one where I ended up in the hospital and grounded for a couple of weeks and was not able to return home from Singapore. Yeah. But I would encourage you to do that. I would say that, especially with the material you have, is so relevant, so important, and so valuable. You would reach a lot of people that way. And then what's really cool is when people would show up at workshops after I deliver what they got from me, we had better workshops. They were more prepared. We did question answer review, and then we got right into the meat and potatoes really fast because they were ready. And not trying to tell you how to do it, but certainly to consider it, because of what you have to offer. You can reach a lot of people, and absolutely some live workshops mixed in with it. I just had to, from a personal standpoint, I couldn't handle it anymore, the travel. It was too much in a 4 or 5 year period. I overdid it. And there was a big cost to the health. I'm fine now, though. I'm fine. And I can walk better than ever. So I have a new hip on my right side, and I'll tell you, that sucker's beautiful. I love it. Yeah. So what else is going on?
So between the second edition, I'm trying to bump up Instagram profile, social media profile in general. And I mentioned the bodywork and functional movement combination. So over the next few months, be investigating just putting all of that onto video. So that should kind of come online, I hope, towards the end of this year, as an educational product.
Excellent.
And then I'm just sitting down and trying to write out a couple more books, possibly 4.
Good. What books what would they be about? And I'm just actually just pulling up an Instagram page of yours here, just so people can take a look. I'm not sure. Yeah, there you go. So follow James on Instagram. Yeah. Get over there and do it, because you post pretty frequently. I have notifications on, so when you post, it comes right on my phone, and I know. And I'm sorry, I totally interrupted you. So, books, and what books you're going to write?
So one on foot, one on kind of functional anatomy of the rest of the body, a kind of user's guide to Born to Walk.
Nice.
But one more for so a few assessments, kind of home use assessments and interventions. So kind of foam rolling, stretching, self mobilization ideas.
Good.
And then started having a chat with the guy who does a lot of breath work.
Nice.
So he wanted me to consult with him on kind of evolution and anatomy of breath.
That's something I need to learn about. When that book comes out, tell me, I'll be your first buyer. Yeah, seriously, it's such a big deal, especially when I look at the population I work with, mostly movement disorders, Parkinson's. Statistically, the number 2 cause of death in Parkinson's are complications from breathing issues. So, there's a lot of has to do with muscle rigidity, not being able to expand the rib cage as much. So they practice doing that. Then they can diminish the progression of rigidity in that part of the body. Hopefully, learn some techniques to expand the lungs and, especially with COVID now. I mean, I only know one actually, Dr. Emily had COVID, Emily Splickle. She's the only person I know personally who had it, but can you imagine if pneumonia is the number 1 cause of death within breathing issues? They say that from COVID, the pneumonia, when it hits, is just like 10 times worse or something. And that's scary. So preparing ahead of time, building up the breathing capacity. Well, when that book comes out, I need to get it immediately.
Well, no problem.
What do you predict time-wise? What do you predict on when that might be done?
It's probably a year-long project at least.
Sure.
And then there's the design and the artwork. So so the writing is going to be a year. The production is probably a year.
No problem. I can relate to that. So, well, good. So once we get back though from this, and let's just say once we're able to have live workshops again, you'll still be doing a little bit of that probably.
Definitely doing some.
Good.
You have to keep the money coming in to pay some of the bills.
Absolutely.
And it's fun. I'm a natural introvert, but I still enjoy the hands-on, the excitement of the delivery of a workshop. I love that kind of sparking of ideas and conversation and the excitement, and also it's kind of like, it sounds more grand perhaps than I mean it to be, but it's like the excitement of giving a Christmas present. The experience is totally different when you're in the room and you can see, when you get it right.
Yeah.
See somebody's eyes light up.
Yeah.
Compared to giving a Christmas present and sending it off to somebody, then you never have that excitement of seeing them open it. And so I would miss that that ability of just watching the eyes open, and you can see the brain kind of making those connections.
Totally. There's nothing like being physically there with people during that. And that's something I miss too. I just taught 2 other workshops last year after Singapore, Columbus, Ohio, and Toronto, and I drove, and it was fine. But what I love too is the interaction and how you have these professionals come in, and the workshop just seems to take a path of, you get done what you need to and what you want to deliver, but also you have the input from people with different experiences and different skill sets and knowledge. And it's like, man, I think I might actually walk out learning more than anybody.
Yeah.
And that is so cool, In fact, Emily had me, my first trip to Europe London was 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. I went to be the keynote speaker in her place for a parkour, Dan Edwards' place, the parkour rendezvous that they do every year. And I was really nervous, but man, when I got there, I couldn't believe what people in Europe know about movement, and it's a whole lot more than here, pretty much. I mean, we have some great people in the States who know a lot. I mean, it's come a long ways. Well, I got an education in Europe. Every time I've been there, I learn. My head is spinning. So hats off to everybody. Whatever your standards are there for becoming a physiotherapist or a trainer, they're high and they're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have some great trainers here.
Love it. I love it. So, well, this is good, man. It's good to see you again.
Likewise. You're looking so well.
Thank you. I feel better than I've ever felt, honestly.
Excellent.
I'm very lucky. I'm very, very lucky. I think that the downtime here, although I've been very busy, I've had a reasonable amount of control over my schedule. I was forced into doing one-on-one training sessions online, and I had never done that. I thought about it. It's like, nah, I'd just rather be in person. Well, if I didn't have any of them now, I'd have absolutely no income, and I can't do that. So I was forced into it, and it's actually going really well. I don't have a lot of clients, but I have a few, and it's good. And then, this is a time of reflection, though, too, during the downtime and the COVID time, and finding my way, making sure that I eat well and rest. I sleep a lot. I do sleep a lot. I think I slept 11 hours last night. And work out, be active, move. By the way, I just have to show this to you. And for anybody watching, I think you're going to like this too. Speaking of sleep, it's so important, right? And a lot of people have trouble sleeping. I'm lucky I never have trouble with that. But there is an amazing book called Why We Sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I have purposely slept more since reading that book last summer and I feel better too. Yeah. And I've always been a nap taker, so I take naps every day. Just 1 second, I'm sorry.
This is Audible.
Whoops.
A PDF of charts and diagrams.
It's called Why We Sleep.
Not working, yeah.
Yes, and wow, what an amazing book. I just thought I'd say that, and I wanted you to see it too. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah, I feel good. And you're feeling good and all that? You look like you feel good.
Yep. Again, it's been off the travel treadmill. Has been really wonderful. Diet is much easier to control without the travel. So without all of the hotel meals or meals out, and so I'm trying to take good care of myself.
Good.
My wife's trying to take good care of myself as well.
Good. That's great. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of cooking here. Cooking. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's actually been good.
Yeah.
Well, I want to make sure people know where to go. So it's borntomove.com.
Yep.
And that you can find all about James Earls there and his the book and the books, the new edition coming out. Be sure to check out that website. Go to his Instagram too. Follow him there.
Yeah, the Instagram's going to be a little bit more up to date than the website at the moment, because all of the workshops are gone.
Exactly, right. Yeah, I've got to get on my site and make some updates too. But, well, I want to thank you, man. Thank you, my friend, for taking the time today. Sorry I was a little bit late. Just had some technical issues to deal with.
Not a problem.
And if you don't mind, just hang on with me for a minute after I end this. Anything else you'd like to add before I sign off?
No, it's just been a pleasure as always chatting with you, and thank you for the opportunity. Again, just to acknowledge the really important, wonderful work that you do, and also to acknowledge that the importance that I've just learned something that so those kind of secondary related conditions from Parkinson's, it's like neurological condition, but actually there's a lot of significant deaths that happen through breathing issues.
Yes.
Was not on my radar, so thank you for that.
Oh, I'm going to give you, I'm going to send you access to my online thing today. Just want you to have it. Take your time, go through it if you want to, because all that is in there in the first 7 modules. And the whole idea is to just create as much of a comprehensive knowledge about Parkinson's and how it could affect people. And then talk about intervention strategies to help manage disease symptoms, reduce fall risk, improve quality of life. And I'm always adding stuff there, and it is interesting though. But I go back. I say this not to talk about me, but it's to go back to. I've never written a book before. If I ever do again, which I will, I need good sources to get citations from. I use a lot of research that's online from MCBI and whatever, but I'm using books like Born to Walk, because it's all relevant. We're humans. We all have a brain, a central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. We all have, most of us walk every day. It's our most functional movement. So people with, that's why your information applies to what I do, because people walk. Parkinson's or not, they walk. And we want to keep them walking and not falling. So thank you. And you hang on with me for just a minute, and I just want to thank everybody who tunes into this show. We've been getting a lot of traffic this year, even before COVID, but now that we're all sheltered up, a lot of us, I appreciate everybody who's getting on and they're watching or they're listening to the SoundCloud or the iTunes, because, my mission here is to bring people who I really admire and respect, like James, on, talk, and then you learn. Because I started this whole thing years ago doing interviews with a completely self-indulgent goal of learning everything I could, but at the same time wanting to share it with people, because I've always been a believer that education shouldn't be hoarded, it should be shared. And so I've been really lucky to meet you and so many people and learn, and now other people, they choose to learn. That's the whole idea. So, all right, my friend, I'm rambling today. I'm excited. I don't know. It's just, life is good. So thank you, James. And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. And I hope you have a great day. Remember, go to borntomove.com. Borntomove.com. Get that book. Have a great day.